And part 2 of the NFL playoff show is now available here at American Football News. We would like to take this time to remind you to be sure to check us out on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. Input American Football News into the search engine and look for the blue logo with the red football. We're also available on YouTube.com under the name American Football News. Look for the blue logo with a red football player with the words American Football underneath, and boom, you have found us. We are also available on SoundCloud. Look us up under the name American Football News. And eventually here we will be available on Facebook, available for downloading of past episodes and to follow us with new episodes and new podcasts weekly. All right, we concluded our last episode with a recap from the Philadelphia Eagles-Chicago Bears game this past weekend in the Wilcard Round. This was a game that the Philadelphia Eagles had to win. It's the playoffs. It's advance and win. However, Philadelphia has been playing this way for about the last month. And if there's any team that's more than willing and more than ready to play this way, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to remember, this is a team that did the same thing to get to the Super Bowl last year, and so far it looks like they are about to do it again. But it's too early to tell. That was just round 1. We have a minimum of 2 more rounds to go before the ultimate prize can be achieved. Anyways, if you watch this game, again, like I said in the last episode, this was a defensive slugfest. Pardon me. No team really showing up with their offense until it was deemed time, if there is such a term. Both just playing good enough to not embarrass themselves, and really, again, this was Chicago's game to lose. Philadelphia has nothing to lose other than the title of Super Bowl champion. But when your entire season has been nothing but ups and downs and flying by the seat of your pants, this is exactly how you want to play. Balls to the wall, nothing to fear, everything to lose. And you have a quarterback, and this makes no sense to me. You have a quarterback that seems to fall short when it's needed in the regular season, but when it comes time for the playoffs, or when it comes time for that crunch situation, you've got the man. It's like having 2 starting pitchers, but you got to know how to use them effectively. And at the beginning of the year, I don't think Philadelphia knew how to use them effectively. I don't think Philadelphia knew how to use them effectively last year. But they do know how to use their quarterback situation effectively when it comes to the postseason. And I think ultimately that was just the goal. Get to the postseason, and we'll do what we did last year because it worked. And so far, it is working. So we look at the stats from this particular game. And again, if you haven't seen anything about this game, then you are not alive and you have not been watching any sort of media whatsoever for the past week. Again, memes aplenty. They're throwing bird box memes at the kicker. There's reports that the kicker was paid and or had money donated to him from fans of Philadelphia for keeping the Eagles in. Just all sorts of foolishness when it comes to this particular game. Before we continue, my favorite meme so far about this particular game is a rant that a very disgruntled Chicago Bears fan goes on while leaving the game. An expletive-laden tirade of just epic proportions. Just showcases the frustration in the Windy City and how high the hopes were for this particular team to go far. A 12-4 season is nothing to sneeze at, but again, you can't have a 12-4 season and then fall to a Philadelphia Eagles team, despite the fact that they're the Super Bowl champions, the way that they did. It was just a very painful way to have to lose. You'd rather have a blowout than have the ball go off the upright and the crossbar, only to fall back into the field of play and have nothing to show for it. So anyways, we break down the game from a statistical point of view right now. The The quarterbacks had a good day, quite a duel on their hands. Nick Foles had 40 attempts, 25 completions for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also threw 2 interceptions and was sacked only once. His counterpart on the Chicago side of the ball, Michael Trubisky, closer stats, very similar stats to Nick Foles. 43 pass attempts, 26 completions, 303 yards passing for 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and sacked twice. So despite the fact that both these teams are kind of known for their defense, not able to get to the quarterback. Both have some pretty good offensive lines. That Chicago offensive line surprises me a little bit more. Designed to play against or to run the ball. It's only been within the last couple of years that they've kind of started to switch gears and give Trubisky the protection that he needs. And obviously, this was the year that he shows, if you give me time, I can make things happen. From the rushing point of view, the Philadelphia Eagles used pretty much anybody and everybody and got nothing out of it. For a grand total at the end of the day of 43 rushing yards. That's it. Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, Josh Adams, and, of course, the quarterback Nick Foles, all contributing to this stat line. No touchdowns, and the top rusher for the day for the Eagles was Darren Sproles with a grand total of 21 yards on 13 attempts. Switch over to Chicago, they didn't fare much better. In fact, they used more running backs for basically the same result. Jordan Howard, Tyler Gabriel, Mitchell Trubisky, Benny Cunningham, Tariq Cohen, and Tanquan Meisel all contributed towards the Chicago running game, which is usually very, very good. This is a team that terrorized the league when they had Matt Forte. However, like I said earlier, they're kind of moving towards the whole passing situation, which doesn't bode well for Chicago. But, it's an experiment, and it paid off dividends this year. But don't expect it to fool anybody next year. You might see Chicago go back towards that old school midway monster, grinded out defense, and let's just pound it down their throat with the football. Who cares if we only put 17 points up? We're only going to give up 7. The top dog when it comes to receiving for the Philadelphia Eagles was Alshon Jeffrey, although the ball was spread around pretty evenly. 2 former Detroit Lions having great days across the league. Golden Tate, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, ended up picking up the winning touchdown at the end of the game for Philadelphia. And earlier in the other game that we were talking about for the Indianapolis Colts, Eric Ebron was able to snag in a few very important catches and a touchdown to help that team to victory. So the Detroit Lions, even though they're not part of the playoffs, have thrown a lot of players away this year to teams that need them, and so far it seems to be paying dividends. So, are the Lions really that bad? Because they're drafting and recruiting players that are very, very good. They just don't play necessarily well for the Lions. Anyways, we go back to our original discussion of the passing game. Alshon Jeffrey was the top dog for Philadelphia with 82 yards receiving, no touchdowns. Golden Tate, like we said, was the man with the touchdown. He only had 46 yards receiving. And the other receiver to reel in a catch for a touchdown was Dallas Goedert, or Godere, I'm not sure. 2 receptions for 20 yards and a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns receiving for the Philadelphia Eagles. For Chicago, not so much. Allen Robinson II, 143 reception yards on 10 receptions. That's an average of 14 yards a catch. Definitely somebody to pay attention to next year when it comes to fantasy time. He received 1 touchdown, or brought in 1 touchdown. And again, Trubisky passing the ball around pretty evenly too, just like Carson Wentz, or Nick Foles, I'm sorry. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers for Chicago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different receivers for the Philadelphia Eagles. So both teams know how to pass the ball, but it was really a question of defense in this game. And while they may bend, neither team except for Chicago broke. And Chicago only broke because of their kicking game, which was a question mark going into this game and had struggled pretty much the entire year. All right, so that was the wild card edition. We now look at the division round, which is for this particular weekend. If you have the opportunity to catch any of these games, I would definitely recommend watching them from the comfort of your own home or maybe with some friends or whatever. But the division round, in my opinion, isn't one of the more appealing rounds. It's usually the first round and the third round that I find to be more interesting. These games seem to be pretty laid out even before the ball is kicked off. So we'll take a look at that and we'll make our predictions as follows. Okay, so on the AFC side of things, we have the number 6 Indianapolis Colts taking on the best team in the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts 10-6, Kansas City 12-4. That game will be played Saturday, January 12th, with a kickoff time of 4:35 p.m. You can catch this game on NBC. It is our prediction that Kansas City will end up beating the Colts in a close game, but Andrew Luck ultimately will fall short. But look for the Colts to be around next year. That's my prediction. Kansas City Chiefs end up moving on to the AFC Championship round. The second AFC game, this one a bit more intriguing. Also to be played Sunday, January 13th at 1:05 p.m. You can watch this game on CBS and will feature the number 5 Los Angeles Chargers sitting at 12-4, taking on the number 2 New England Patriots, who are sitting at 11-5. The only thing that the Patriots have going for them in this particular game is it's in Foxborough, and Tom Brady has never, ever lost to Phillip Rivers and the LA Chargers in the playoffs. However, New England is 11-5. Los Angeles is 12-4. Los Angeles' offense has shown that they can be almost uncontainable at times. New England has shown that their offense can stutter at times. Remember, this is a New England Patriots team that was absolutely humbled and almost embarrassed on national TV by the Detroit Lions. That's right, the Detroit Lions. Remember, at the beginning of the year, the Lions had a nationally televised Sunday night game against the New England Patriots and made Tom Brady and the Patriots look mediocre. So if the Detroit Lions can do it, I have 100% faith that the LA Chargers will defeat the New England Patriots. However, my prediction for this game is this. New England will win the game and move on to the AFC Championship. Only because it's at home. If it were in LA, I think the Chargers would win. Okay, so we switch to the other conference, the NFC. We have the first game will take place Saturday, January 12th at 8:15 p.m. and will feature the number 4 Dallas Cowboys taking on the number 2 Los Angeles Rams. The Rams sitting at 13-3 and the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 10-6. This is a toss-up game. It really, really is. It's a question of who shows up for the Los Angeles Rams. Is it that high-powered, ready-to-go, putting up all sorts of points offense under Jared Goff and Todd Gurley? Or is it going to be that offensive team that sputters the entire time and only puts up enough points to keep it close but ultimately falls short? The same can be said for the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott have now won their very first career playoff game, but they haven't played a team of this caliber in the playoffs yet. Again, it's a question of which offense shows up. LA's defense is okay. Dallas's is even better. So in order for LA to have a chance in this game, they have to show up offensively. The same can be said for the Dallas Cowboys. It's my prediction that the LA Rams will win, but in a very close, less than 3-point game. All right, with 20 seconds left, we take a quick look at the final game, which will be played Sunday, January 13th at 4:40 p.m. You can catch this game on Fox, which will feature the defending Super Bowl champions taking on the New Orleans Saints. Philadelphia 9-7, New Orleans 13-3. I gotta go with the Saints, and I gotta go with Drew Brees. It's the Saints year. Thank you for listening, and watch